So today in maths we are going to be measuring and ordering using centimetres. We should be getting good at this now, so we're going to have a practice this week with our measuring skills. So last week we learned how to measure with a ruler. Do you remember the 3 things that you need to do to measure correctly? Let's have a think. So step 1 is to make sure the ruler is the right way up and check by reading the centimetre numbers. So make sure your ruler is the right way up and that you can see your k and your m for centimetres. Step 2 is to start measuring from the 0. So remember we said that the 0 is at the beginning of your ruler, at the end. This is where you start measuring from, the 0 right here. Step 3, the number on the ruler where your object ends is your measurement. So can you remember what the units of measurement are on the ruler? So centimetres are shown with a longer line and a number. And the arrow is pointing to it just there. So these are the smallest measurements on the ruler and they're called millimetres and written as an and an There are 10 millimetres for every centimetre. So let's get ready for our independent task today. Your task today is to find at least 5 things around your house to measure with using your ruler. Okay, so you need to make sure that they're not huge giant things. You need to be able to measure it with your ruler. You could maybe measure something bigger if you use a tape measure. Okay, so you need to ask your mum or dad if you are going to be using a ruler today or a tape measure. It is up to you. So here are some things that you could use to measure. So you could measure your shoe, or a tin of beans, or maybe a book, or a phone. Okay, so I want you to pause the video, go and get your objects, at least 5 things, and bring them back to me. Off you go. Okay. So first, before you start, we're going to recap how to use the ruler accurately. So I will show you with the objects that I've chosen how to measure accurately. And remember, you can also use a tape measure too if you don't have a ruler. So I've chosen some objects here. So one of my objects is a peg. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that my peg is lined up with the 0 like that, and now I look at the end of my peg to see how long it is, and that is my measurement right there. Can you see? Number 7. So my peg is 7 centimetres long. If I was to measure my paper clip, I would put it in line with the 0, and I would look at the end of my paper clip to see what number it has, and it is a 3, so my paper clip is 3 centimetres long. Okay, now I'm going to measure my pen. So I'm going to put it in line with my 0, and then I look at the end of my object. Can you see it is at the number 15, which means it's 15 centimetres long. Okay, have a look at these rockets here. The top rocket is the shortest rocket, and then we have a middle rocket, and then the bottom rocket is the longest one, isn't it? This is how we order by size, and we had a practice of that, didn't we? With our aliens, we put them in size order last week. So your independent task today is to, so you should have all of your objects that you've collected. You're going to order them from shortest to longest. So that's your first task to do. I want you to pause the video and do it now. Okay, so you should have all of your objects lined up from shortest to longest, just like you did with your aliens last week. What you need to do next is to measure each of the objects using your ruler or your tape measure and list them in your book from shortest to longest. Okay, so for example, if I was measuring my pen, I would write in my book pen, and then I would write the measurement next to it. Okay, so you need to use your blue homeschool book to record your maths work in. If you make sure that you're writing them in order from shortest to longest, just how you've laid out your objects. Okay, pause the video now to do that. Okay, so what did you notice about your measurements? What did you notice about the numbers? I'm going to show you my measurements. So I wrote down my list of measurements. I measured a paperclip, a peg, a pen, a pencil case, and a book. What can you notice about my measurements? What's happening to the numbers each time? They're getting bigger, aren't they? So the longer the object, then the bigger the number and the measurement. Brilliant. I hope you got the same sort of results, so your numbers got bigger too. If they did, then you did a fantastic job.